You shared that you actually started out afraid of dogs.
That's a crazy story. I think I'm going to go to the canine unit. Now, I said I was going to do it. I'm intrigued. I'm obsessed. I want it so bad, but I'm still afraid of dogs.
It makes me think about this book that I read years ago that had a massive impact on my life. And you can get the whole book pretty much from the title. The title was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways. Today's guest is Nino, the founder of the STSK9 Method. With over 20 years of experience as a police canine instructor, handler, and team leader, Nino has built successful canine teams from the ground up, teaching handlers to perform at the highest levels in high-stakes situations.
As a coach, as you know, it's not just a dog you're training, you got to train the person. I think the most underestimated skill of people in general, when it comes to the creation of their own skill, is imagination. If you can't see it, it's so hard to start doing it. The definition of talent is not like I'm naturally good at this stuff, so it just all came to me. No, the pure definition, scientific definition is...
You shared that you actually started out afraid of dogs. Can you talk about that turning point? What inspired you to not only overcome that fear, but to pursue a career in dog training at the highest level?
That's a crazy story because most people wouldn't even believe it. They first of all think I was born training dogs or my whole family had dogs and we were all, yep, I'm like a little kid growing up with dogs. It's the opposite. So we only had one family member who actually owned dogs. These were the Groenendahlers. I don't know if you're familiar with these, Nate. There's like a black Belgian Shepherd, and it looks quite vicious. And she had a bunch of them. So here is the story. We had to visit my aunt. But we didn't have dogs. I know nothing about dogs. They're like, okay, we're going to go to Aunt. Like, listen to me. Don't you move too much, okay? Don't never look the dog in the eye. Don't scream. Don't do anything. So I got a bunch of rules. Like, it felt like we're going to see some creature that's extremely dangerous. And I was like, okay, I didn't even know what to do. So anyway, I go in. I already feel my heartbeat going up. And as soon as I come in, they actually acknowledge everything that, my mom said I couldn't do. They said, okay, come on in. I'll tell you that they're not crated, so they're going to be loose in the house and stuff, okay? So make sure, that they're repeating the protocol. It's like, okay, let's just do it. So in a way, I was afraid, but I was also intrigued. Like, what is this? It's crazy. And yeah, she had a bunch of dogs. I think at that time she had like 4 of those big ones. Very intimidating because, when I was like 8, 9, I wasn't that tall, of course. So these dogs are quite big. They look extremely big. And, I was sitting there and then it's like, at some point, I'll never forget that I was sitting on the couch and I couldn't stop looking at them because they were beautiful. But they told me, don't look them in the eye. So I'm trying to look at them without looking in the eye. But one of them is looking at me. So I look at this dog and I feel it looking back. I was like, oh shit, and they're like, and then I heard this growl of this dog, like, and they're like panicked themselves, like, oh, he's growling. We got to put him up now. We got to put him. Yeah, just hold on a second. Okay, don't move. I was like, oh my God, like, did I just escape an attack or something? But anyways, why does this stick to my memory? Because this is almost like 40 years ago. How come I have this vivid memory of this happening? It's quite impactful of this event taking place. And then when we visit again, like, you remember last time, don't look him in the eye, to the whole thing again. So sit still, like, it completely frees up almost because obviously you get more and more cautious about this and you take this with you. But there's one thing that stuck with me is I was intrigued by dogs. Like, why is this, like, why are they so dangerous? Or why can't I look them in the eye? So, and I then asked my mom, like, would it ever be possible that we get a dog? Like, not, of course, one of those, but like a little small one maybe. But that was out of the question. They didn't like dogs, so that was out of the question. But I did get probably, because I have to analyze myself, like, how do I ever end up in this position? Because I probably then start obsessing about it subconsciously. That's the thing. It was like a little seed probably in my head, obsessing about these dogs subconsciously. So then when at some point we lived in an apartment, and right next door our neighbors, across our apartment, they had a young Malinois. And I remember the same, like, oh, I want to see it, like, but it's probably dangerous, so I have to back up. But I still remember, like, I'm intrigued by it. So at some point, I asked him, would I be able to walk with you guys, like, together with you in this Malinois? And like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, come and walk with, and there was a female. And it was actually a very kind one. Now, of course, I didn't hold a leash, but I did get a little bit more confidence. But I was still afraid of dogs, period. Like, if that dog would bark at me or stare at me, I would feel that same core fear, you know. But long story short, and this is the most crazy part about it. So I ended up being intrigued. Like I thought I got a little more confident about dogs, but as soon as they bark or they look at me, I still feel like I'm very afraid of them. Now, at some point, I was like 21, 22. I literally wake up, because I was living with my girlfriend back in the day, at 5 a.m. I woke up and I thought, I gotta go. I think I'm gonna go to the canine unit. Like the most crazy idea ever. Crazy idea. Like what? How do you even come up with that? Like, are you having a bad dream or something? But it was like I went downstairs. I started like opening the computer, looking up things, and from then on, I couldn't get it out of my mind. Although it was the most insane idea ever, because I was like, you know, I like to talk a lot to the colleagues and stuff. I was just like, I was at the police. Actually, I missed the age. It was like, I wasn't 21. I was older already. It was like 27. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm 27. You see how much gap there is between? Yeah. So, anyways, I want to finish the story, which was I literally woke up. I was like, okay, I want to go to the canine unit, and I tell my colleagues, and this is a unit department with 2,500 ish people, and I'm in a unit like city intervention, like, you know, we doing the emergency calls and, you know, all that stuff. And I tell them, I said, hey guys, I've been thinking, you know, I think I'm gonna go apply for the canine unit. At that point, there's only 4 people in the entire department. You know, looking at me like, what do you mean? I said, yeah, like I think I'm gonna apply for the canine unit. What do you guys think? Like, what do you have a dog or something? No. I was like, do you know somebody who has a dog then, or at the canine unit that asked you to come? I said, no, I don't know anybody who has a canine, you know, at the canine unit. I'm just thinking about this. Like, all right, but you know about dogs and you're an expert or what? No, I'm not an expert. And I said, do you even know anything about dogs? Well, not really. So they all started laughing so hard, like, you know, I was like, so what are you thinking? Because sometimes, you know, young people have these crazy ideas. I'm going to go to special units, you know. Everybody's been in that situation, and then the person saying that is like a little bit overweight or like not trained at all. It's like, sure, man. I kind of felt the same when I was talking about the canine unit. A lot of laughter. This obviously didn't take me seriously, but I was serious. But then I was facing the biggest problem of my life. Is now I said I was going to do it. I'm intrigued. I'm obsessed. I want it so bad, but I'm still afraid of dogs. So I get this crazy idea of like, okay, what if I start researching? What if I do talk to some police people who have a dog? I start researching YouTube, Google it. I became like an expert almost just by reading about them, and, you know, obsessed, completely in obsession mode. So at some point, I do find a contact of an ex-police canine handler. Okay, but he did have a dog, and I called him. You know how it goes back, and you call people. No texting, no messaging, didn't exist. You actually call people still, like, hey man, I'm Nino, you know, from the police department in Antwerp. Can you help me? I'm looking for this. He's like, oh, well, I guess it's your lucky day then, because he said I happen to have a dog that might be suitable for you if you want to purchase that, you know, canine unit dream or whatever it is. I said, all right. So I like, can I come over? He said, yeah, man, come over tonight. Get in the car, drive there. And he says, here's the deal, man. He says, you just take the dog with you. It's going to be X amount. I'm not going to disclose the amount, but you can pay me tomorrow, whatever, with a wire bank transfer. Take the dog with you. This dog is going to like set you up for success if you want to purchase that dream. I like, okay, great. And I'm looking at this dog, already start to feel uncomfortable. It's an adult dog. I've never handled a dog, Nate. I never had a dog in my life, like handling them, training them, zero. It's like, what am I getting myself into? So you kind of now start feeling this was a bad idea. Now, what really hit me, it was the worst idea ever when I was sitting in my car. So he put him in my back seat. I want to give you the whole story of his explanations, what was going to happen, and so on. But I'm looking in my back mirror. It wasn't in a crate. There's no crate, just in my back seat. And I'm looking at him, and he's staring back at me. Remember the stare? Don't look the dog in the eye. He's like, oh, I can't look in the rear mirror. So I come home. I already start feeling really nervous now. And my girlfriend's waiting for me, like, okay, because obviously I had to tell the whole story, you know. That's a story on its own. She was going to leave me, by the way, but you know, if I was going to bring a dog home. I get in the kitchen with this dog, and the dog looks at me, and then it hit me. I was like, I can't do it. It's like, what do you mean you can't do it? I said, no, I'm afraid of this dog. I said, there's no way. I'm not even going to give him food. Like, the way he looks at me is just too scary. I got to bring him back. It's like, bring him back. You just got him. Like, so I got to find, like, what am I going to tell this guy? And what if this guy then tells the real canine unit that I came for a dog, completely, you know, pissed my pants. I was like, okay, I got to tell a story. Just tell him that my girlfriend's afraid of it, can't do it. So anyways, I drive back. I hand this dog over. He wasn't amused by it, obviously. He spent a lot of time and like, okay, do this and that. And then I knew, I said, like, okay, I got to completely forget about this dream that I'm going to buy an adult dog, train this dog. It's just not going to happen. No chances. The only chance I have now is if I start with a puppy. But guess what? Even puppies with pointy ears were scary. Really. Man, I'm not kidding. So what I had to do is there was a place where they had multiple breeds. It's like one of those, how do you call it in the States, breeders that have multiple breeds for commercial purposes. They call it
I'm not sure. There's some places out here that still sell
there's a
puppies
name
at pet
for it.
stores.
Yeah, they're not very popular now. So anyways, but this guy has a bunch of breeds, a bunch of dogs. So it's like, that's the place where I should find some confidence. That was my first step. It's like, I'm not looking for a dog right now. I first have to get confidence. This place will allow me to get in for free because there's a lot of people coming in and out. So it's like free entrance. You can just watch. It's like going into a store. But they had all these outdoor kennels where you can reach out because they're like this high and you can actually pet a puppy. So then I was looking for dogs with pointy ears to try to pet them. That was my initial way to go around it. Like, I have to like find confidence to pet them. And then there was a small one, and I started petting it. It's like, oh, look at my hand, like, and then like, want to bite your hand for playing. Then obviously get afraid immediately because I thought like maybe he wants to bite me. So that's my process, and that's where I went. So at some point, okay, I got the guts to then find a working Malinois breeder. And then that's how I got my first dog. And the rest is literally the history of then training this dog. Day one, what do I do? And I mean, I wasn't comfortable at all, but the puppy, at least I overcame the fear of handling a puppy. And that's from there on, it only went up. And
It makes me think about this book that I read years ago that had a massive impact on my life. And you can get the whole book pretty much from the title. The title was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways.
oh,
And often I think as humans, we're attracted to things that we're afraid of. I'm
yeah.
terrified of sharks, but I'm also fascinated by them.
So it's,
It's like
not
I
a
recently,
coincidence. So it's not a coincidence. This is actually for
I don't
fact.
think so.
Wow.
But I think it is very fascinating the level you were able to take it. Like, I'm interested in sharks, but I'm not a shark expert. I'm not going to go swim in the ocean with sharks. That fear is enough for me to educate myself on it because I find it very interesting, but not to the level that you've taken it. And one thing that I thought was very curious when you were talking, as far as trying to become part of the canine unit, how difficult is it to become part of the canine unit? Because here in the States, one of my friends who I trained with, he reached out to me and asked me if I could vouch for him because he's a police officer and he wants to be in the canine unit.
Right.
And he was recently accepted, but it was a 3-year process, I
Oh
think,
yeah.
of him trying to get to that position, having people that vouch for him, where I said, yes, he's done a lot of training. We've done bite work together. He can handle the dog. He was certified somewhere else, and he needed all those things in order to get and be part of the canine unit. Is it similar to the unit you were in? And if
Yeah.
so, how did you manage with no training experience? Was it
Yeah.
just that obsession?
Yeah, it
How
was
long did it
because
take too?
it was like they were then opening up a few spots. I think it was like 2006 that they did selection testing, right? And or 2000, I can't remember. It was 2005 because I remember in 2007. Yes, in 2007, I was actually already a canine unit. So it must be between 2005. Yeah, I know. 2005, I got my first dog. Yeah, my first Malinois. So it was in 2005 that I immediately started looking into what is it actually they're expecting from us. So there's an interview, and back then, so it's very different than in the US. Back then, you needed to have a dog. They wanted you to already be training with dogs, right? So you had to prepare basically the police dog you were applying with. You can't just come there and say, I don't have a dog, I don't have anything, but you're going to buy it for me, okay? So I'm going to just do this interview. No, no, no way. So that's why I already went in finding a dog. You see, that's why I was recruiting a dog because I knew that's what it's going to take. And this obviously will take the amount of people interested. Let's say there's 2,500 people in the unit and the department. And let's say 100 people want to do it. But when you tell them, hey, you got to invest up front, you got to have a dog, you got to be already active with this dog. I think out of these 100, probably 50, 60 already going to go, no, probably not then, you see? So that does trim down to the people who were really already active. Now, of course, there's a lot of competition because there's only 4 spots, only wanted 4 people, and there's only like 2 or 3 selection rounds. So, and it takes each time 6 months before they hire another 2, and then they were going to cap it off. I think they wanted ultimately 10 or 12 people. There are already 4 people. So you see, there's not that many spots. And I remember going in the first time, I mean, I passed the exam because I had answers to the questions they had. They knew I had a dog. So I did meet some of the criteria, but I didn't make it because obviously there was way more better people than me who were qualified, who were already seasoned handlers in other departments from other cities. And they also have the right to go above you. It was like automatically they would classify above you because they already have like a license, a certification. So yeah, I would always drop down, drop down, drop down. So at some point, I did think like I'm probably not gonna get it. But at that time, they did start to know me because like this guy's always showing up, always obsessed also. And then the dog was also getting older because at the selection. So at the time, 14, 15 months, my dog did actually a whole lot of things, or actually ready to go in. And one of the chiefs there knew that because I was always calling him. I did know at that point, they already told me, if you're not going to show who you are, there is no way. So I had to actually come like at some times when I knew he was like late at the station. I had to come and talk like, I know this selection's coming, like, I want to just talk to you what I'm doing now. And so they would know at least who you are. And this guy, Reggie was his name, he ultimately probably decided without telling me like, I'm going to give this young guy a shot because he seems to be very extremely eager about this. Like he can't stop. Like he's showing up, he's training, he's showing good stuff with his Malinois because I showed him some stuff that I was doing. And ultimately, the last interview they were going to do to hire these people, I got the last spot. So basically, the class was like classified last in the rankings. So I got the last spot to get in. And that's how it started. But yeah, it wasn't like granted, for sure not. It was like the dream could have stopped there right then. Then, of course, you can just continue and try other departments in different cities. But yeah, that was.
So not only did you have to prove it, but you also had to show it as well. So they wanted to see proof that you can do the things that you talked about. So it took roughly 2 years from when you decided you wanted to be in the canine unit to actually getting into the canine unit?
Well, probably a little bit longer because when the idea popped in my head, obviously I did all the research. By the time then I actually got to that breeder, back and forth. I mean, that's also probably a few months. So I would say roughly a good 2 years before actually waking that day of waking up, and then actually going into the canine unit. And by the way, I was living in a rental place that literally said no dogs allowed. And I still did it. I knew they were going to kick me out. So what I did was I wrote them a letter and I said, I'm hired for the canine. I wasn't, it's like, we'll just tell them I'm hired. I'm working at the police. They hired me at the canine unit. Do you mind if I have my police dog, trained police dog here? And they actually allowed me to do it temporarily until I found a different place. So I did go through some, there was nothing in front of me that said, come on in. Yeah, you got everything lined up. You have a house, a big house. You're allowed to have dogs. You have experience. No, none of that. So it's a complete underdog position. And that's why still today, I have a huge affection and love for either people that are underdogs. They told everybody to stop doing what you're doing. Or they told this dog was absolutely garbage. I'm so still attracted to it because it always reminds me of the people laughing at me. Like, who's going to believe in you, man? You don't even know nothing about dogs. How are you going to get in the canine unit and have a working dog? And like, oh, you crazy. Just stop it. Stop. It's not even funny anymore at some point. So
it's impressive. And even the dog that you ended up having, you did end up training that dog from beginning.
Yeah. And that became a legendary dog. He did the most deployments in the history of that department. And that's the biggest.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's the biggest department in the entire country. He did the most deployments. The most.
Big lesson. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I wanted to say, I think a big lesson to take away from this is having a very clearly defined goal.
Yes, vision.
So if there is someone who's starting and they want to become a dog trainer, or they want to follow your path and become a handler in a canine unit, having a very clear path and a clear goal is going to help set someone up for success.
Yeah.
Did you continue to work with a mentor while you were training that puppy, or were you reading books and just trying to figure it out on your own? How did you train that puppy to be the dog that he became?
You're not going to believe this. Really, you're not, and I don't even know if I ever told this story because you're literally asking me what you did, and I think usually people stop in the story like, okay, what now? What do you do? That's the thing. I went into a Belgian ring club, and then what I saw was the people were like willing to help me. You know, Belgian ring is like a traditional protection sport. It has extreme dogs, extreme Malinois. Only Malinois allowed. You couldn't just come in walking with a Dutchie that we see today or a German Shepherd. No, it was like a club only Belgian Shepherds. Why? Because that's the only dog that could ever even compete and win possibly in one of those trials. So they were only Malinois. So that was one thing I had. I wasn't too far. These people were willing to help me. But then what I saw was like, that's a pretty old school, way of going. And I was like, oh, I mean, I need some more information than just what they're offering me. I said, that's not going to cut it. So what I did is I ordered Leerburg DVDs. I ordered Leerburg DVDs from the United States. Listen, being in Belgium, where there's so many clubs, we have legendary trainers for decades and decades. We won so many things in competition, and yet I bought a bunch of DVDs from Leerburg because that was the only thing that I could literally put in a DVD and then get the information that I was looking for based on the topics. Because as much as you can just walk into a club, you can't just steal somebody's time and say, I want to know everything about healing, or I want to know everything about drive, or I want to know everything about IGP. What is this actually even? So I had to educate myself, and I bought these DVDs. And they were like not applicable in a way like, okay, you watch this stuff. And this is why I also never wanted to make DVDs so many decades later. I was like, okay, well, this is cool, but it's not working for me. And I'll tell you why. Well, first of all, this person has a complete different dog than mine because his was in the DVD, usually they're trained dogs, right? Mine was not trained, or I'm starting to train it. So the responses are different. But the people there have skills that they're already applying. And that's how I also came up with my methodology is like, but you can't see them. They're using them subconsciously, even themselves. They're combining a bunch of skills. You're just focused on the dog the whole time. You have no clue what skill was actually implemented because it's all about the how to train the dog. So I'm looking at the dog the whole time. And I didn't get the information that I needed back in the day. It was like 20 years ago. Because of that. So I was like, okay, DVD is great, but at the back, there's not a number you can just call and say, look, man, I watched this. This is good information. But when I apply it, it looks different. So I got like a little bit stuck. So what I had to do is go in myself and start trying stuff. And here where my other background comes in, because the whole story starts making sense because you'll say, okay, who the hell comes from nowhere and then does what I do today? But I'd also had to do because one of my real mentors when I was young, between the age of 13 and 2021, was a European champion in track and field, an Olympian. He was a sprinter. And this person taught me that the only way to get something to the level where he was at was extreme efforts, was extreme obsession, extreme efforts. Like his diet was nuts. And I also did it, by the way, because, as a young kid, you want to emulate who you look up to. And I started doing that stuff also, like extreme diet, extreme training, extreme. So I was used to doing extreme things and not having an outcome even because he ran super fast and I still ran slow. Although I kind of looked like an athlete, but I didn't have the outcome, So I did understand that you have to put in extreme effort sometimes. So I was on my own, but I knew like I wasn't going to stop. I wanted to see who was who in this world, in this industry. So I started Googling and stuff, and that's how I also came with Leerburg. Back in the day, it was pre-Michael Ellis even. It was so long ago. And then I saw it was mainly IGP back then that the influence was from. But I wasn't in IGP. But I did get some good things, like, for example, the healing. The focused healing in IGP was something to look up to. Because in Belgian Ring, they sure as hell didn't have focused healing. It was a rigid walk, like, come close. Yeah, and then the dog just had to come close in some parameter, not run off. So completely different style, completely different setup. Very interesting how all of that information just gets a space in your head. And then later on is used to build your own imagination. Because I think the most underestimated skill of people in general, when it comes to the creation of their own skill, is imagination. If you can't see it, it's so hard to start doing it. And I refer to the track and field story. Nate, how many times I closed my eyes and I thought I was running a running trial? Like I was doing it. In my mind, I was doing it. I had people cheering. I had everything in my mind. I went every weight that I lifted. I could see this in my mind. It was like so strong. And then I started developing the same thing with the dogs. Although my dog couldn't do anything, I had in my mind this dog has to be good, has to be precise, has to have all these things. But the skill was lacking. So you can have the vision, but if you don't have the skill, well, then you're still going to be stuck. So that's why I started, also critiquing a lot of things, which was obviously not the way to make friends in this industry, especially my own unit, when you start questioning people. And I am a person, where does that come from? Well, I'll also give you a little background. My mom questions literally everything. Everyone who comes up with a rule, she'll ask you, why is this? And if you don't come up with an answer that she likes, she will just not do it. So I was also used to that. So I wasn't just taking answers because you have to, because it's a police dog, because it's, you see? So I was critical. I was an extremely hard worker, obsessed. I had a vision. I had a lot of imagination. And I also did the grind work, looking where can I find information? And anybody's information for me at that point was good. Was it IGP? I was not discriminating. IGP was actually, I started to like it also. I loved French ring. I loved so many things. And that's how I started thinking about putting things together. And
you did Mondio ring too, right?
Yes, I did. I was then also a certified Mondio ring. I did trialed as a decoy. I trialed with the police dog. Everybody told me don't trial with the police dog. So you shouldn't do that because it's sports. You have a real street dog. Street dogs shouldn't do sport because they need to buy the equipment. All these biased, things that people tell you always what to do, what box you belong in. And I remember my first trial. It was kind of funny because that's when I knew like, oh, I actually suck more than I thought, because at the police I was doing really well. And then I did the trial. And then in the trial, I had no control over the dog in the master defense, because the master defense is where you're challenged in your control, because they'll try to lure your dog to make mistakes, to buy too early. Yeah, and that's what happened exactly. But that was great. These are great lessons, because then I knew, oh, this control I thought I had, actually, on that level, it's not even great, So at some point,
that leads me to. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, at that point, you start realizing there's always levels, because you think, oh, you're doing good. You're getting praise at the police, because I was like a very good student / new canine handler, extremely motivated. So you get praise. You think, oh, my dog is doing so good. And then you go to the sports, and the level of this dog wasn't even enough to win the first category or even end up in the top 5. So
yeah, it's that old saying, big fish in a little pond.
Yeah, I think that's a great expression.
And so some of the struggles that you had early on, it sounds like you took a lot of those experiences and you've used that to develop the system that you now teach, where you were saying really focusing on handler skills. And that's something that I've taken from your system, where when I teach people, I'm often telling them now, like, we need to focus on your skills as the handler. Yeah. Now we have the skills of the handler. We also have the skills of the dog. We have the environmental influence and what that can do. Mm-hmm. And you break all that down in your course, and you came up with what you call the S flow. Can you talk a little bit about the S flow?
Yeah. So the S flow, that was something really crazy, because I was always into mechanics. When I went to go see, great trainers or title trainers, I wanted to see, because remember, I came from the track and field background, looking at Olympian level. And then looking in the mirror and say, okay, what is it that I have to do is going to even remotely look like this guy? The gap was so big. But in dog training, that gap wasn't so big. And I'll tell you why. Because I was looking at them from not a dog trainer perspective. I was looking at it from a mechanical motor skill perspective. It's like, what's going on here that this person is doing that I will never be able to do, because I know how that feels. And there was nothing. So, but that was a good news. That was like, hey, wait a second here. This footwork, this is nothing that I haven't, like, I've been trying footwork with running that was like extremely hard. So, okay, that's not the point. What's he doing with the hand, feet, coordination? What am I seeing? Motor skills, technical aspects, like fast analysis on what's happening. Like, but I wasn't like that. And that's when I start believing, like, hey, wait a second here. There is something here that's not even relevant, because I'm thinking, okay, dog trainers at a high level will probably extremely, like, good in certain things that, or okay, I got to replicate this. Good luck to you. And that's when I start finding, because I like movement. I'm somebody that can't sit still too much. So when I have my dog, I want to move a lot, right? So I was already using my hands. I'm a mechanic. So subconsciously, I didn't even consider that as, oh, these are mechanics I need to put into this place. It was just more intuitive, organic. And I started doing more and more. And people start making fun of it. It's like, yeah, well, what are you always doing? Like, oh, luring this dog and stuff like that. And in the beginning, I took offense of that. I was like, okay, I guess that's probably not a good thing because you're young, you're influenced. And then I thought, okay, probably not then. But then I was seeing like, hey, but if I look at them, that's not what I want either. So why am I even listening to them? I'm just gonna keep doing this because it's fun. But this, I'm just gonna do it behind closed doors. Just go home and do this stuff. And then there was like, this is it. My dog was getting better and better technically. And technically, I mean, he could move smoother. His steps were cleaner, more precise. I was like, I'm onto something here. Because everything they're laughing with is actually what's making my dog look way better than theirs. So I was like, yeah, just let them laugh. But the only difference is now, well, I can't be luring my whole life, of course, because that would look also a little bit silly. Like, oh, look at me. But I always need a piece of food to make my dog do all these things. So then comes the fading skill. And the fading skill is where you actually do not use your motor skills and your mechanics. You use your analytics and your decision making abilities. Because fading is basically you're going to do less, the dog's going to still do the same thing, just as good. So it's more about decision making. When am I going to help? When am I going to use this movement? How am I going to use this movement? How much am I? When is it time to not help? Or how long can I stop this help? And when do I go back in? You see, so now we start processing, again, more on a subconscious level because we're not talking course now development. So, but I was already getting into now technical obsession modes. So if you would have asked me then, still, how do you get to do this? I would probably take you to the movement and the lure, but I wouldn't be able to give you a full plan because a lot of that was going on in my subconscious still. But I already knew at that point very early after watching some of the big names that, okay, there's nothing here that cannot be done. And I'm just now talking not with disrespect, but from a technical perspective and from a just, is this possible for somebody who's never trained a dog? Can you become a great dog trainer? Because I had no background. And for me, the answer was yes. If there is one thing that I'm probably going to master in relation to what I didn't master was the track and field, because I looked good, I'll tell you that. Like everybody thought I was an athlete, but I wasn't. See, so I was living my own dream. But I thought the dog training, that's a different story here, because they're overlooking things because they're just not simply paying attention to it. And if there's one thing, man, if you're a little bit into sports, for a dog, he's your athlete now. So if I can mold this athlete into a specimen of athleticism, of speed and precision combined, that sounds just what I wanted to do when I was doing track and field, but I was too slow. But what if I can help my dog do this? You know, now it gets interesting. And this is part of the S flow, because then I started creating like movement, like how would this wrist work? So in my imagination again, I'm seeing if I had this dog in front of me, how would I move and how do I balance myself? Because you also can't like move only the hand, but then your body doesn't move. Well, you're unstable then. And especially with big dogs or small dogs, you have to like squat a little bit. So you actually do need some coordination, some core stability yourself to adapt to the little dog in front of you. And that's how I created a motion, a flow, a sequence of motions that are going to give you the ultimate obedience. That is now what we see, the extreme obedience, like super fast, clean, like, you know, it's almost like robotic. Now they also give critique about this looks too much like a robot. But for the dog, it's a fun thing, because if there's one thing a dog loves, it's energy, man. Energy all day.
Yeah, and I don't like when people say it like, "Oh, the dog looks robotic," because in my head, what I'm thinking is like, what, the dog looks too precise? They move too well? Is that what you're telling me? Is that a bad thing? And um, with your S flow and the movement, how important is it for someone who's learning dog training, or someone who's been training but they're going to practice perhaps your system? Like me, I've been training dogs 13 years now, and I started learning your system a few years ago. I'm still getting through because it's a big course and I don't have as much time anymore with the two little kids and running a business and everything, but it's an amazing course. And moving and practicing these things without the dog, I think, is incredibly important.
Yeah, I
What are your thoughts on it? What are the differences that you've seen when you started having your students practice without the dog and getting those mechanics down and understanding the muscle memory, or developing
yeah.
rather that muscle memory?
So here's the thing. Like, you could be the best S flowing person in the world and transcend it to your dog even. it's never going to give you an outcome that is even remotely practical for you if you do not combine it with other skills. So, like you said, a muscle memory and having those mechanics, that's a great foundation to have. But if you really want to excel, you're going to have to add a leash, maybe, food. At that point, also the dog's going to be involved, which has its own way of moving and mechanics. Some of them are stiff, some of them are a little bit more agile, some of them are slow, some of them are fast, some of them bark, some of them, lunge at the food. So there's always other parameters here. So that brings me to another skill. We're looking now into profiling handler skills. It's not just about your movement. It's also about your ability cognitively to understand what your plan is and then to analyze and execute it, which brings us to a whole different skill level. Okay, then there's also dexterity with the fingers, how you hold stuff, how you communicate, how you assess, and then what do you do in the moment, because decision making in your training is probably one of the also latent skills. Decision making. You don't see when I make a decision because you're seeing what I do, right? But the fact that I made a different decision just in a split second because of what I saw, you will never know. You see? So if you can't go into the depths of what handling profile actually means in terms of, okay, let us profile somebody who's like won multiple world titles, extremely good in dog training, proven over and over and over again that they have this skill. We can't just go with like, what bloodline was this dog? What food do you give him? What ball is this? No, you really have to start questioning, like, what makes this person win each and every time, regardless of what dog he's using, because he's done it with multiple dogs. So you have to find a pattern and a profile of their skills that's going to help you then define it and then put it into segments, modules, so people can master them individually and then later start combining them. Because the definition of talent, this is a very important one, Nate. The definition of talent is not like I'm naturally good at this stuff, so it just all came to me. No, the pure definition, scientific definition, is your unique combination of skills that you can access and combine simultaneously, so it allows you to do things better, faster, more efficient, with less effort and energy drain than somebody else and still have a better outcome. That is what talent means. So if you define this, it did say a unique combination of skills, because everybody's skill is unique. The way you move and I move is never going to be 100% the same. So it's always going to be uniqueness to it, and especially when you start combining with the other skills. So it's about the combination, your ability to combine multiple skills simultaneously. So you need to define what they are. So that's how we change the game, by defining what they are and focusing on these. You become conscious first. Now, when you master them, it becomes subconscious. That's why I can train 3 dogs at the same time. I had reels with 3 dogs at the same time. Why? How is that even possible? I can have one dog here and literally be on a phone call and train this dog extremely accurately. Why? Because my subconscious knows this move. I don't even need to look anymore. I know where he is. I know where I master this. So I can add another skill and another and another and another. And the more skills you combine in your subconscious and then access them at any moment, even in stressful conditions, that's your definition. That's your talent passport. But the same goes for the dog, you see? So we're looking at handler profile, we're looking at dog profile, and only that combination is the symbiosis. So if you're extremely good in the 5 main skills that I have defined, but your dog cannot even move in one circle, then all of that is nullified, what you have. But you will need all these skills to elevate the dog first, So that's the thing. But usually people ask me, where do you get this dog? Because they want the elevation of the dog skills to help them, go up in abilities. But it's not like that. It's not, because seriously, when we're talking about Rocky, it was like, and my other dogs, I'm so attached to them to the core that sometimes it's hard to even talk about them, because the symbiosis is real. It's a real thing. And people think they want this dog. And I'm sure this dog and them would be so unhappy if they met each other. Because if you really look at the core of what one of those dogs needs, they don't need your corrections. They don't need to be blasted with e-collars the whole time. They want clarity. They want understanding. They have a lot of drive. They have a lot of natural things that would go for them, like food drive or ball drive. But all of that would be useless if you wouldn't have a strategy to extract this, but one thing also at a time. And what we see, Nate, and this is a true reality, we see people going in first day with either working dog or whatever, and they're moving because you have to move, you have to do something. They're holding a leash, they're holding a marker, they're talking to a dog, they're praising the dog, they're making decisions, they're doing so many things at the same time. That would literally mean the same thing as, oh, you want to be a track and field runner? Okay, get the spikes. Here's some hurdles. We'll get you in the blocks. All right, let's get the gun out. Shoot. Boom, we're going. And people in the dog industry think that, sure, I just got this dog. Obviously, I need to train it now. Let's just do everything at the same time. And that's where the thing goes wrong. I mean, you're in business, man. When you people reach out, when things go south. I mean,
Yep, exactly right.
That's what happens. So,
and do you think it's better when someone's starting out to practice one skill at a time and then to add the skills on top of each other? You think that's one of the common mistakes a lot of us make in the early stages is we are trying, and we may just not be aware of it. Like you said, I'm having to focus on the dog. I'm having to focus on how I'm going to lure the dog. When am I going to deliver the reward? How is my body in sync? And it's all these different things that we're trying to do from day one when we haven't even established any sort of not perfection necessarily, but a higher level of understanding and application of one skill before adding all the other ones.
Yeah, but here's the thing. When we're talking dog training skills, lucky for us, these are not Olympic traits. That means you don't need to go in 10 years, 20 years to master how to move. This we're talking 1-2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. For you, it might ages. My God, I have to do this for 2 weeks because we're all used to getting instant gratification. I got my dog. Where's my result? The next day even, right? I got people today asking me, my dog is 7 months. Is it too late? And I have to always read it twice. Did he really ask me, did he mean 7 years? Or did he, even that wouldn't be too late. But he literally said 7 months. A Malinois 7 months. Is it too late? You see where I'm going with this? So that's the point. Like in their minds, it's like, it's got to happen now or it's too late. So they're going to do everything to make it happen right then, right now. Which brings us to a whole other level, which is you have defined all the profiles. But now, you know what's really, really, really important? Studied way more than dog training science is human psychology. Human psychology, people have been studying people way more than they've been studying dogs. Okay? So when you go into human psychology, you find there's behavioral patterns that lead to poor decision making. And understanding these will help you also to understand why people cannot develop talent as they actually should, because they do have the potential. You see, there's a one thing to have potential, and there's a whole other thing to actually be able to use it. Just because your behavioral pattern has stopped you probably for many, many years, we can get into that also in the depths of why that is. But understanding this is way more groundbreaking than understanding the marker, for example. You see, where we have like shifts in approach. Okay, I want to know everything about the marker. Okay, that's great. We can talk about the marker, what it could do for you and what it can't do for you, et cetera, et cetera. But when you want to know how you also develop skills and talent, just aside from the dog, even if you're talking about any skill, wouldn't you be interested in that? That human psychology is validated science, Nate. That is not just something like came out of Nino's brain. This is validated science. And to just not use that, knowing that your job is to coach people to help them develop skills, and not knowing this, but knowing everything about science-based dog training, I would feel like a huge gap for me as a coach. Because as a coach, as you know, it's not just a dog you're training. You just mentioned, you got to train the person. But how do I understand the person? I have to understand the psychology of why people do the things they do. Because you can say, like, oh, that's weird. It's always stagnating or going backwards with these people. What is it that makes them always get to the tipping point? They start correcting. They don't have any patience anymore. They start like then trying other stuff at the same time. Why is this poor decision making reoccurring? If you can't find the answer to that, you can coach your whole life and go like, I don't know what's wrong with these people. I know what's not wrong with these people. You have to know one. You have to be one to know one. And I'm a person too. So when I was studying the psychology part of it, I was like, this is mind blowing. This is going to change. This is going to impact not my dog training career, my dog, anything. This is going to impact my life. You know, I'm a different person. After I studied this, I'm a different person. That doesn't mean like all you dog trainers have to go study psychology. But when I teach the MVP, there is a part of that psychology in there. because I feel I have to share it. I would feel guilty not sharing this because it had helped me so much. Now it can help you. Isn't that what coaching is about? Is you have expertise. Okay, great for you. You have expertise. But as a coach, you not just want to tell people, okay, I told you what to do, then now do it. You want to understand them. You also want them to succeed. You want to see them grow, maybe even bigger than you. That's totally fine. That's what a coach is supposed to do. Why else you want to be a coach? So understanding coaching meant, well, I have to understand myself. I have to understand people. I have to understand how I can go outside this expertise and help them. How I can, go outside my own realm of dog training and understand what these people actually dealing with on a different layer has nothing to do with their dog, but is affecting everything to do with their dog.
And it sounds like it sounds like you invested a lot of time in learning not just the dog training side, but learning how to be an effective instructor or teacher. Sounds very similar when I was talking to Michael Ellis. It seems like a lot of the great instructors and teachers out there, like yourself, have invested a lot of time in the art of teaching. You know, we are dog trainers, but we are also teachers. And this is a quote I'm stealing from the legendary Michael Ellis, but we're teachers and our subject is dog training. And something I noticed even before I started studying your work, I wouldn't focus as much on the initial skills that the handler had. And I would often say things like, if you have an athletic background, you played sports, if you did dance or something like that, you're going to pick up this stuff usually much faster than someone who doesn't. And I think that's part of the development of the hand eye coordination. Now, when you're working with a new student and you're trying to get them to a certain level, what's your initial assessment on them? Or do you have everyone start at the same spot? Or if somebody does have some skills from being an athlete, from playing sports, doing martial arts, that, okay, you're probably going to progress through this more quickly, but we're still going to start from the beginning. Do you adjust according to each student in that way?
Well, I used to, because remember, we all start small, and back in the day, we had a very progressive, what I call it, the talent scan. We had literally a talent scan, so it was a bunch of questions which would tie into the professor's IP, which was an algorithm he developed for his talent assessments on a professional basis. Had nothing to do with dog training. So we developed this scan together, and by taking these questions, it was mind blowing. I could literally give you this talent scan, and without ever seeing you and your dog, I would know exactly if you would answer honestly, of course, because else it's useless.
Right.
But if you would assess it and answer honestly, I literally would know how you would look with your dog and where you guys were at. Nuts, absolutely nuts. And then we went into, okay, let's now start with what you say. Maybe sometimes their own perception of the level they have wasn't correct, so that's one thing. So you go into, talking about this. But then we always did come to the point like, you really can't move, guys. I'm sorry. Like when it comes to you really want to master this and you want to add more layers to your potential and to your dog training skills, you're really going to have to master some things that you don't even think is needed, but I believe it is. Which gets them a little bit out of the comfort zone. And now this is like we do an onboarding. So we do talk to people live and we talk about like literally like we do. We explain the system live also. And for them to understand, look, dog training is not linear, but your progress is also not linear. So that means some people gravitate more towards developing a certain skill. Let's say protection work. Let's say you love that kind of stuff. So you're going to be less involved in obedience movement, but you gravitate towards understanding the mechanics of bite, because that's also very technical, by the way. Understanding how the dog needs to bite, what you need to do, and stuff like this. So you can't dictate to people, and you shouldn't, what they should be interested in the most. All I can do in the beginning is explain to them it's an open MVP. Master Course is open for you to explore visuals, for example. Anything has to do with healing and visual control over the dog. But the human side is everything has to do with analysis. Why? Visual, imagination, remember? Observation, imitation. You see, we all put that also in that handler skill. So by explaining them in depth what all these things mean, give them more confidence to go, oh, okay, so this is not linear. Because look how easy, we wouldn't even have a job if dog training was linear. We could literally say, guys, everybody here, watch this. Take this food, put it in your hand. Now close this hand. Turn your wrists. That's lesson one. You see? Well, half the people probably go like, okay, I already got stuck here. The thing was falling, put too much food. You see troubleshooting on that. Half of them would go like, what the hell is this? We're already healing, guys. Like, can't we just skip this? You know what I mean? But then, even then,
So
because
sorry, you just said healing, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about healing
yeah,
because you have such beautiful healing, not just with one dog, but with multiple dogs. There's videos of you walking with a dog in the left heel position and the right heel position, both of them healing beautifully. A lot of students have really nice healing. And so I want to ask, looking back, what was the moment you realized you were onto something different from traditional healing in dog training?
yeah. So it's great because you know what you have to do at the police if you are a canine handler? You have to patrol with this dog. What are you doing if you're patrolling? Are you focus healing through the street?
No way.
No way. You see, no way. Okay, so can I ask you then, what actually is this healing? If it's not focus healing, how would you define then this heal? You're walking on the street. This is a patrol heal. What am I supposed to imagine with this? Your dog is like,
Would you be teaching a contact heel?
no, because a contact heal is based on an external source, a target. That's when the dog makes contact and puts his eyes on the target. You see, these are all things that I even not even invented. Like contact heel was something they had in protection sports also. There's the helper, watch him, stay close, and start moving. But that wasn't it either. Okay, so now you have focus healing. It's not it. A contact healing. I'm sorry, but it's not it. So you have like this street heel then. What is this street heel? There was no definition, no interpretation of it even. So I had to develop a street heel. Now, not just based on, oh, let me pop this dog because he's forging. No, healing literally means, if let's just define it for people's understanding and sake. What healing is you guys have aligned your speed. You synchronized with the same pace. That is literally what healing means. That could be in contact, focus, and in street healing. So you have 3 styles. I came up with the third one. Focus healing already existed. Then you had contact healing, and I had to define street heal myself. The cool thing is you can do all 3. But all 3 are very different also. But where is that going with this? I wanted to make a point. So yeah, well, anyways, you got to start with 1 or 3 styles. Or you can start simultaneously with these styles. But it depends on what also your goal is. And in street healing, you just want your dog to also stay connected with you, have the freedom to look and just do whatever he wants to do. But also synchronized speed. That's what I was talking. So it's an alignment exercise. Once you understand its alignment, the question is not anymore, how do I stop him from forging? How do I make him not pull? The question is just, how do you align speed? By synchronizing. The question is, how do you synchronize? By using movement. Remember movement? Oh, nobody cared about movement. You synchronize through movement. How do you synchronize through movement? By having something that the dog wants. So there's something to align. There's an incentive for the dog to align with you. Before there was none, then there is. There's an incentive with you, and you're going to move with them 1 step forth and back. It's like, a little waltz, a little dance, forth, back and forth, back and forth. What it does is you're creating a foundation for this dog where the dog truly believes, well, this is interesting, because subconsciously a dog is always looking for references. You agree with me? He's watching the whole world, looking for a reference. So what he can recognize, and then anticipate on it. So if your reference is synchronization, we're back and forth, 2 steps back, 2 forth. Now your dog starts to make a reference out of you. How good is that? So instead of popping the leash, breaking the collars out, pushing buttons or whatever, putting pressure on the chest to come backwards. We need 2 people now here to hold him back for forging. No. All you guys need to do is synchronize. But here's the bad part. Synchronization does not come in 1, 2, 3 sessions. Synchronization becomes habitual after, let's just say, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. If you have synchronized for 4 months straight, now we're talking. You see, because now the little dog who's 2 months old, you add 4 months or 6 months, 8, 9 months. Now we're talking, you see. Now we're looking at a strategy to have the dog street heel, focus heel, and contact heel. All of those 3, you can also do at left, at right, in the middle, and reverse. Okay, you could start making the count, right? That's 6 times 3. That's 18 types of healing. And most people are struggling with one style, which is they want on the left is focus healing for whatever reason. They don't understand alignment. They don't understand synchronicity. They don't understand source focus. They don't understand anything about how to align with a dog. All they can think about is just started the course. My first question is, how do I make my dog stop pulling? Okay, no problem. How old's your dog? Dog 16 weeks. Do you have anything, any innate in your imagination where a 16-week-old dog would synchronize completely with you and heel like a boss, like the patrol walk, the street walk, or do even a focus healing remotely for 5-10 minutes straight? I don't know of such dog. I literally do not know of such dog. So this person is asking me, I'm asking you something, like to solve a problem, which nobody in the world has ever done, and no dog has ever performed a street or a contact heel without blasting him. Of course, you can always stop a dog from pulling. We all know that, right? We all know he's going that way. Let's pull him the other way. Okay, you do not want to train a dog from resentment or fear. You want to train from a connection. Remember, we're going on that path. So if you're with me on this, there's no dog in the world that could do this. So because if you want a connection, trust, synchronicity, alignment, all these great things to have, okay, sounds maybe a little bit holistic for you if you're into dog training, but this is what's going to give you the best stuff ever. Because once a dog starts synchronizing, it's going to go to insanity. You're going to have a ball there. Then he starts synchronizing with you because he thinks that's going to get me the ball. And all these things of synchronization, I've never met anyone that said after my course, Nino, we got to stop the synchronization. This is too much synchronization here. They got to stop. I can't get rid of them anymore. They actually send me videos, Nate. I just somebody from Israel who bought the class also, and he's training a mixed husky, a beautiful dog. It's a puppy. As a puppy, and he's showing me videos, and he's literally writing down, Nino, you got to see this. I can't get rid of him anymore on the street. So he's now doing off leash on the street in a busy area with his dog, synchronizing with him nonstop. And he's like free, and dog takes a few steps, right? Come back, synchronize. It's like you have to see it to believe it.
And how is street healing different from what most people would consider loose leash walking? Because it sounds like when you're getting the dog to move in sync with the handler, are you starting that with a lot of luring in the heel position, or what's the foundation? And are you taking 3-4 months? Sorry, go ahead.
So the foundation is the contact heel. That's your foundation of street heel. That's where you use an active source in front of the dog to help you synchronize, to pivot, to do all these things. So this process, this is your foundation. So basically what street heel is, it's contact heel without the source. That's literally what it is. So if you've ever seen those videos where the dog is like contact healing to get to the point where he needs to be and protection work, whatever, it's that without the protection work and without the source and without anything. And the dog keeps the alignment. You ditch the source, you keep the alignment, and you go left and right, and you slow down and you run, and it's like glue. And here's the best part, without corrections. Boom. This is where that's blowing people's mind. How is this dog that's now 8 months old doing focus heel, contact heel, street heel, looking like an adult dog, and you've not even corrected this dog? Nope. And then on top of that, you set this dog free. You say, all right, go do something. He doesn't even want to go anymore. Okay, so your side effect of doing this is your dog's now addicted to alignment and to synchronization. I've never read a book in my life, Nate, that was talking about synchronization with dogs. I've never read that, but it's a real thing. So,
Yeah, and it actually leads me to my next question, where you have a book on healing, and in it you talk about healing as a path to freedom. So, what does freedom mean to you in the context of dog training, and why is it so important?
healing is how can you have a dog and not have healing? That would mean you're not going outside. Literally, you would have just a little chihuahua that just spends his day on the couch and in your backyard, and that's it. And then you obviously don't need healing. If you want to take your dog out, the last thing you want is to feel, oh, okay, I'm going to need a back massage after this because the dog's going to pull. I'm going to pull back. Break out the tools, guys. We're going out for a walk. It's going to be pretty intense, because we need now double hands, to get things. No, you want to go out and you want to be free. Look, I'm going to give you an example of the best time ever. Last weekend, just Saturday, and I was posting stories all the time. I was taking out my Malinois to the city, and we were street healing. We had the most fun ever with the family, with the kid, going shopping. That's the ultimate outcome. But if you do this if you go out with the family and you're not having a trained dog yet to do all this, stuff of healing, you truly believe your family is going to enjoy this trip with your dog? No, because you're always going to shout to this dog. You're going to pull this dog back. You're going to be like, oh, frustrated with this dog. You can only enjoy when you've put in the work, right? And then you go out, and after a year, it's going to be beautiful. But look, what program would sell if I tell you, yeah, it's going to take you 6 to 12 months? Yeah, but I don't even want you to take it if you believe it's going to be 6 days. Just don't do it. Don't buy my program, guys, if you want 6-day fixes. It's not meant for that. It is really for development, for having all the good things after you put in the work. Because then literally you still have 10 years. Maybe, let's hope, even more. 15 years even. Who knows? That's when you can enjoy, and you always use your same reference. Your dog is now indoctrinated with a reference that is actually enjoyable. I look, when I set my dog free at the seaside last time, he didn't even want to go swim. He didn't want to go in the water. He could have. I told him, like, just go, man. He didn't want to. But I'll take that side effect over anything else. I don't mind that. He wants to stay with me. We'll go in the water together. You see, so I have different type of relationships with my dog, and I think that is what is most intriguing for people who see us and they think, like, how many hours you trained? 5-10 minutes a day. Well, how's that possible? Because we use a combination of skills, which allows us to do things better, faster, more efficient, and have a better outcome than you, unfortunately, who trains 2 hours a day. You see, but that's not to call out people. It's just like the quality of your training and the decisions you make are going to have an impact for the rest of this dog's life. So there better be good decisions, and the time I'm going to put in better be qualified skills that I've earned and mastered because I knew what they consist of. I know it's not impossible because it's dog training, guys. It's not Olympics. And you just put in the work and you get what you want, or you get what you put in. So,
And that's something that I noticed too from all the different dog trainers that I've either worked with or trained with, that each dog that we end up getting that we train for higher level obedience, we end up getting those results faster with each dog. And so to go off what you were saying, where yeah, 5-10 minutes a day, but that's not how it started in the very beginning. It took you much longer to build those skills. But now that you have them in place, if you invest those 5 minutes are way more valuable than someone who hasn't developed the skills. And then the dog enjoys the training because you built such a strong connection to the dog. And I actually I want to touch base on something that you mentioned earlier, and I wanted to ask about it, but then I forgot. Where you said you received an email and someone was asking if they could train the dog and the dog's 7 months of age. I get questions like that all the time. My dog's 3 or my dog's 5. Is it true you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Why do you think people believe that? And what are some of the myths surrounding that popular saying of you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
I think it also has to do with the information you get. I mean, probably people, if you go on YouTube, they're not likely to bump into me with this story. And they're probably not likely to watch even this whole podcast if they're just looking for answers. So they're looking for answers, they're looking for logic. And something tells them that it's logical that an old dog who has bad habits is like, all right, no, dog's a dog, is not that smart. So we can tell him what to do differently, but he's still going to do the old stuff. So it's been traditionally passed on from other people who say, look, man, I trained this dog for 3 years, messed him up. Like, that's it. I had to restart with a new dog. So it's like, this is a story we've been told. So at some point, like, these myths, they become real. Remember, look, I don't even know if that is in your case. When I was young, you know how they said you need to potty train? If they're doing their business inside the home, you got to take their nose, shove it in their
Yep.
business, and then take them
Yeah,
outside.
yeah.
And we believed it. We believed it. It was like, yeah. And I would tell my kids that, if I would know better. It's like, yeah, for sure. Even if I didn't train a dog. But I do know one thing. If they do that in the house, this is how you fix it, guys. You see, so subconsciously, we have been exposed to all this type of information that at some point, yeah, oh, old dog, never mind, you got to get a new one anyways. So can I start your program? My dog's 6 months already. Yeah, that's a puppy actually. 4 months ago was still drinking milk at the breeder's place. So, how can it be too old? But you see, then it becomes like excessive almost. People feel already screwed up in 4 months. So I think that's actually why they ask, is it too old? Did I already screw up? Because, okay, what's the problem? Why do you think it cannot be trained at 6 months? Because then they'll tell you he's reactive. Yeah. He's also barking a whole lot at people. He's doing, see, then they come with a list of problems. So they only see the problems and they have no clue how to even get to any type of solution. So therefore, 6 months probably too old, right? Look, we got all this problem going on. Yeah. So I do understand where it kind of comes from, but of course it's unfortunate that people think this way. But I kind of understand where it comes from.
There's definitely some benefits to starting when they're young during that imprinting stage and you're trying to build the dog's food drive or their prey drive and you're trying to minimize any sort of behaviors that will become behavioral issues. What I tell clients when they reach out and they ask similar questions, I say there is a little bit of truth, and the truth is the longer a dog has been practicing an unwanted behavior, if I have an 8-year-old dog and that dog lived with someone who, let's say, was a hoarder and the house was packed with stuff and they would never leave, and the dog just relieved themselves inside the house for 8 years, and now we're trying to potty train the dog, that's going to be a little bit more difficult than the brand new puppy. But it doesn't mean we can't teach that dog obedience based on the dog's own physical limitations. Some of the dogs probably aren't going to be able to move as beautifully as some of the dogs that you have that are healing because they're just not physically built for that.
That's a different
Right? Would
story.
you agree?
Not entirely, because what you just said. What was the beginning of your story again? So you were saying.
Yeah, so how a lot of people will reach out and they're saying, my dog's 5 or 6. Is it too late to train them? And people are often thinking about that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And what I usually tell people, it's not so much teaching the dog things, it's breaking bad habits. So if the dog's been practicing something for 5 years, that could be a little bit more difficult to break than if you had a brand new dog, they try it for the first time and you prevented the first time.
So let's simplify it. Let's use dog logic with a dog problem. Okay, simplify the problem. You're looking at a reference. Why is a dog of X, Y, H always doing the same thing? Because he's creating a reference. Remember, my reference is alignment, is synchronization, is like you're creating references that the dog is anticipating on. So the dog is anticipating continuously on references that he's been given without you even paying attention to it that are going to lead to that outcome. So dogs are predictable, extremely predictable in behavior. I'm going to like turn this script around. When I get a puppy, should I predict that this puppy probably going to bite my hands at some point or my clothes? Yeah, probably if it's like a little energetic breed. Yeah. Is it probably going to happen that this dog going to pull a leash if I put a leash on it randomly? Probably going to happen, right? So you already know a lot of things are probably going to happen. So then if you take it to the simplicity then and break it down, like, okay, what is causing this pattern? That's really the question. What is this reference for the dog to go, I know what's happening here. So the thing is, you gotta then not look at the outcome. You gotta look at the triggers that actually cause certain things to happen, because the dog always thinks he's doing the good thing. I never met a dog who regrets things. So they just think we're living in the moment here. This is great what we're doing. These are great decisions. Like, you see, dog can attack another dog, die. He probably didn't think he was gonna die. So that's what I mean. So if you look at then dog training, instead of like going in with complex things, look at it this way. Any behavioral specialist at this point, maybe even watching this, could say, look, I studied a lot of years. I can come with solutions about X, Y, Z. Yeah, but you'll never come with the synchronization solution, would you? And I'll tell you why. Because you just don't have that skill yet. So therefore, it's not in your arsenal. Your brain is not going to that place. You're going to find different things that might be even way more complex than taking it to literally a synchronization stage. Now, I keep saying this about synchronization because it's something that people never talk about. It's always a correction, or it's also a new association, stop them from doing this. And I know stopping a dog with aversives has immediate impact, radical changes in behavior, but that doesn't mean it's your best option. And in dog trainer, we also always should look at what are the options here. So if you only get one type of option, well, then it's going to be tempting to do that. But if you have multiple options, and then you can outweigh, okay, before we actually get started with this, perhaps if we're going to stop the dog from pulling, here's what happens when you stop him from pulling. He's not going to enjoy his walks anymore too much. Why? Because there's too much pressure on the dog that he can't understand and he doesn't know what to do with, and therefore gets a little bit more submissive or even confused or whatever. You see? So, okay, but I still want him to stop pulling. That's totally fine. And I have the tool to do it. Yeah, and you have a YouTube video to stop him pulling. I get all of that. But do you still want it if there would be a single chance that this dog is going to not enjoy being with you because he knows you're handling what he really dislikes? That's also part of negative reinforcement, is if you're the creator of the discomfort, It's you, man. Like at some point, dogs are gonna know it's you. I actually don't want to be associated with that. You see, I don't want to be part of it. What I want to be part of is fun. So if I'm going out with a little puppy, I know nowhere in my book is going to happen that I'm not fun unless there is behavior that has nothing to do with development. I'm going to give you an example. I pick up the puppy and the puppy literally bites me in the face and wants to rip it off. That's not something like, oh, you little, what you doing now? No, of course. But this has nothing to do with development. When I go in, I'm going to teach my dog to heel. Going to teach my dog disobedience, teach him to recall, teach him to hold things, to out things, to look at things. This is all development. When you're looking at the other side of my dog's like eating rocks the whole time, stop him, please do. You see, I don't want this to get out of context where Nino said, never stop your dog. Stop him by all means. Rocks are not part of his development. He shouldn't eat them. He shouldn't swallow them. He shouldn't even chew them. Gonna break his teeth. So this you got to stop. How do you stop him? By then doing the thing that you try to avoid with also not pulling him back. But that's a different story, because if he sees you as a bad guy when he wants to eat a rock, that's a good thing actually. But I don't want to see him, so I want the dog to see me as a bad guy when I'm going out on a walk and heel with him. You see? So you got to pick the battles here. Of course, dog training is going to be in a natural way, always a little bit balanced, where you go, I'm gonna take some freedom of you here, but I'm going to give you a lot of things here. So it is like a natural balance of things. So balance training is like a title that I don't like oh, you balance train, a positive only trainer. Again, boxes. You see, I don't like boxes to begin with. But it does take you to the reality of things is, okay, you have here behavior, all the things that can go wrong. And then you have skills, all the things I need to develop. So for example, reactivity is also one of those big things. You know, I'm sure you get emails every day too. Dog's reactive, what do we do? Well, okay, list me all his problems. Okay, I got it. Now let's counter with all the things you could use in ideal circumstances if you would develop certain skills. Now, name me the skills. Okay, now we're countering with 0 skills and 5 big problems. How do you think that's going to end? The energy has to go somewhere. So the dog's going to use it in things that you don't like. But how do you counter it? Counter it with corrections. Okay, maybe you'll get an outcome, but maybe also not. And maybe he'll also going to make you pay the price for this. You see, so you always want to combat with skills too. So it's not like an this or, well, you could do an and story. You could still work with great behaviorists that are going to help you. But if you have an arsenal of skills, and the dog has too, because remember, it's two different developments, the dog skills, dog and the handler, well, that obviously is going to open a new world of options. And if there's something that I like to have in life, it's options. Why people work so hard? To earn money, because they'll have options to maybe refuse a job they don't want to do. Isn't that the most beautiful thing of having money to begin with? It's not necessarily owning a car that you're not going to drive because you're too busy working maybe, but it's actually when somebody says, I want you to do that. And you say, you know what? I guess I'm not. And that's the same thing with dog training. You go to a club and you're qualified, as in you have expertise and knowledge and skills to do this with your dog. I don't think so. I actually told somebody today, was talking about, went to a ring club, talking a little bit about what we did. And he says, oh, I can fix that for you. It's in bite work. It's a little bit more technical. So I can do that with this tool. And I said, no, you're not. He's like, oh. I said, no. I said, I wouldn't be comfortable with that, not ethically. And that's not something I want to go. I can say that, and he respects that. Because I know then, well, I can do other things to help him in this problem. I don't need to do that. I have options, you see, because of my knowledge, because of my idea, my imagination of even, because if I would fix the problem, it's in bite work, like the dog going a little bit out of the center and stuff like that. And if I knew it, then I would have done it already. So I asked for his opinion. I don't like his answer, as in, this is not something I want to do with the dog. So immediately I blocked that. You know how many people do things because somebody told them and they actually know deep down they don't want to do it? Oh, my God. You know how many people go to a club stressed out, to a dog school, or their coach telling them do this. And they're like, oh, fuck, I actually don't want to do this. But they do it anyways. It also has to do with behavioral patterns. Somebody who has, for example, strong connection with people, please others, as a main driver, control mechanism, they're going to be prone to doing what they're told. Not because they want to do what they're told, because they don't want to damage the relationship. And for some people, individuals, that relationship is more important than trying to beef over this. I'm not going to do this because of this and this and that. You see? Which is leading to the core of the problem then is it's a human now thing. It's you should be able to say no at this point because you know it's going to go south. You just know it. For example, I don't need to practice a recall with 40-meter yard leashes and then send my dog away and recall him full speed. I feel in my imagination this is a bad idea. Don't you agree? I don't need the expertise of actually doing this. My imagination tells me, no, no, thank you. Yeah, but if that's the case, why are you doing it? Oh, because this person told you. I've seen that at the police happen so many times. That the hierarchy at the police is very vertical. You agree? It's like somebody on top gonna tell you what to do. It doesn't matter if
Right.
you. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Chain of
matter if you
command.
agree. Yeah, the chain of command. So it's the same thing. Canine handling instructor is the instructor is gonna tell you what to do. What are you gonna do? Debate it? It's like, hey, wait a second here. No, 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 no. Come, sit down here. Let's just talk about it. This is not a democracy here, guys. This is like you're gonna tell you what to do. You're just gonna do it. Now that is, I'm talking vertical hierarchy, like you said, but it happens in clubs where people go voluntarily. It also happens there. I told you what to do. Why are you not doing it? And that doesn't mean this person wants to do bad things for you and your dog. It's just his idea or her idea being put to you, and you're like, thank you for this. I'm gonna do this. It is so hard, social pressure. Even if you don't have that main driver, for somebody who comes in new, and people tell them do this, it's extremely likely they're gonna do it.
Yeah, and that could be a big problem too. It's called the authority bias. And I had some issues just like you took some of the lessons that you learned early on and realized that there could be a better approach and how you created the S flow and breaking down the different skills. Certain things that I've had as a student or learning, one of which was the authority bias. I was told certain things to do and just like you said, I didn't feel good about it, but I did it anyways. And then I still didn't feel good about it, and so when I work with students now or I work with clients, I always try to make it very clear to them if you don't feel comfortable doing something, if you don't want to do a leash pop and give your dog a correction, if you don't feel comfortable using a remote training collar, don't do it because then you're going to end up buying the collar. You're not going to use it. It's going to sit on the sideline anyways. And if the trainer shows up, now you're throwing it on. You're going to be causing issues with the dog. So I couldn't agree more. And I also think that it's very important that dog training should be seen as a team effort. And something you said a few times was it being fun. You want your dog to enjoy working with you. You want your dog to come out and be excited about the learning experience, which is a big part of engagement. The more they want to learn, the more interested they are, the faster they're going to learn, and the better the results are going to be. So I do, sorry, go ahead. You had something to add?
You just said the most important thing. The desperation we get, I'm sure we both get it every day. People who contact you are in desperation mode. And how they come from buying a dog of their dreams because they have the breed, they want it, they had everything set up. And how did this dream turn into desperation in literally just a few weeks or months? It's crazy. It is nonstop, ongoing, every day. People are buying a dog today, and in 4 or 5 months, it's gonna be a nightmare, or even the next day. So that's the crazy part. So for the fun for them, what is fun? What are you talking about? Fun? Like there's nothing fun about this. I got this and this and this problem. Can you please help me with this? What are you talking fun? This is not the circus, where we're having all fun watching the show. No, this is serious. Oh, okay. You see, we're already in that state of mind. We're not talking like, I just got a puppy. Let's have fun. The huge minority says, I'm going to go get a puppy. Nino, how would you advise me? How should I go about this? But you think you get emails like that? That is like 1 out of 100. Like somebody who's like proactively looking for, coaching, searching for development already before they get into these issues. But so yeah, I think it's so unfortunate that people are not having fun with their dogs. That's
Yeah, most of the time you're right. People wait till they have the problem. And ironically enough, I literally just had a lesson right before this where they had written out an entire game plan. And we went over the entire game plan, made some adjustments and some changes. But you're right, we don't see that too often. If people are coming to us, often they're coming to us when they already have a problem. And I want to ask something about your your healing system and a lot of your obedience training in general, where some people will describe it as very flashy. You said robotic earlier. I think it looks amazing, but I am curious. Are there any particular breeds or what we were talking about earlier, ages or types of dogs that do especially well, or dogs that have special challenges within your system?
Yeah, so you would obviously think who would be good at that type of stuff because you're talking more of a performance, right? It's like all energy and then doing things fast and clean must be a working dog, right? Your own logic tells you it's a working dog, and then I told you I have a love for the underdog. I told you. So then there's somebody in the program, for example, with a little pincher, 7 years old, 8 years old. So okay, already started like way past their development time. Remember, and then they outwork and outclass the working breeds that it's almost like it, there's something fishy about this. You probably had this as a puppy. You probably indoctrinated this as a no. You actually did start training at 7, 8 years old, and it does look better
If you
than your.
don't mind, I'd like to pull up a video of this, and if you can break down what we're seeing in this video.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, this is that fast obedience that we're looking for. Okay, fast reflexes. Boom, based on energy, source focus.
I love it.
And now what she's going to do is look leash skills, which is also part of my program, fading skills. You see, she's fading the reward and intermediate rewarding. Boom. You see, now she's going to adjust the position. You see, okay, everybody would be happy with this position. Look at this little dog, nice position. So here, fading actively, passive, because now we're going to fade out the food. You see, it's gone. Yeah. And now we're going to adjust still the position. Yeah. So we can get a dog to do this and they're just going to enjoy it just as much. So you can do your whole sloppy routine, whatever, or you could do this, and this is equally fun, you know? So if you had a choice, all right, you could do obedience and train 5 minutes, and you'll end up sloppy and with slow obedience and, you know, crooked, all that kind of stuff. Or you could just have it clean and precise and actually look energized. Then I'm choosing the last, so I'm choosing this.
Yeah, and that dog looks like he's having a great time, and clearly, that handler has put in a lot of practice. I mean, she moves very well, as you said, they're very much in sync. How long, has she been in your program?
She's a graduate actually, so she's been in the program for I think about yeah, a little bit over a year. And because she actually started with this dog, this was the dog she used for the program, and she started getting so much confidence in her abilities that then she purchased a working dog. And now she's doing like I have a little reel on her like both because then they both do the same thing. They're both doing the positions. So then now they're synced together also with the handler. One little pincher, one Malinois, and she's doing this type of stuff. It's really fun. That's cool. And we have
Yeah.
people with a 14-year-old dog, also crazy. I didn't send you that video, but somebody with a 14-year-old dog, he can barely see even doing like source focus, boom, then says contact, the dog goes into contact, does a pivot, then comes to the other side into a focus heel, yeah, and then gets a release to the reward. And like that lady is so happy like that the dog is doing this dog at 14 years old, like if he's physically capable, why should this dog not have fun doing this type of stuff? You could see like this ties in into their natural instinct. This is not like for our pleasure. Dog, do some circles. Go on your back paws and do sit pretty. No, this is actually functional stuff that they enjoy because they found gratification in getting that reward, doing the stuff, being connected. Is no pressure. So
Yeah, and that's really important because, I mean, when someone comes to a dog trainer and they need help, usually it's either A, the dog's not doing something they want the dog to do, so we're talking about obedience issues, or it's B, the dog's doing things that they don't want the dog to do. So at that point, we're talking about behavioral issues. And I often say, if you can communicate with a dog at that level, and then if we also think about motivation, well, we know that dogs do things based on motivation, access something pleasant, prevents something unpleasant, or the behavior itself is fun. If we're talking about those intrinsic and extrinsic motivators, when you see the dogs working within this system, a lot of times it seems as if these behaviors have been developed to a point where they're now almost, if not intrinsic, meaning they enjoy doing the movement. And again, if we're talking about motivation and also considering the fact that dogs can't multitask. So if I have a dog that loves doing this work, loves being with me, loves engaging with me, then what are the odds of me dealing with a dog that's going to be reactive? What are the odds of me dealing with a dog that has these behavioral issues? They're significantly lower because of that relationship and because of the communication that has been built. Would you agree?
100%. If a dog by choice can react to the bike or remember what he did with you and see that as a huge, bigger incentive for him to engage with than the bike, mission accomplished. Because look,
Mhm.
if a dog, and sometimes at 8 weeks old, you could see, oh, this little dog is like, he wants to go after things. He's not happy about other dogs. Some breeds just are not happy about seeing other dogs. And if you believe that for 1 second you're just going to talk to this dog and change his mind about this, it's embedded. You already know then this dog probably for, you know, if you would just not worry about this at all, it's going to develop into this. Remember predicting the future of your puppy. So if you know that's going to happen, but you build so many assets of the dog connecting to you, the chances are big you might not even know. You might like he's not even
Mhm.
going there. He's because I had a reactive pup, and when the dog sees bikes and like he going into like it's almost like he's choosing then to let me do this, let me do something else with you. So he doesn't want to engage, not because he's been corrected for it, it's because he understood at a young age when I saw that he was going to do this, I was proactive because I'm ready. When I have a young dog, I'm ready. I'm not, like I said, I'm not doing the family trips and be completely unprepared. I'm ready with training gear, with rewards, with like I'm going into the city with preparations. You see, so they're not getting me off guard. So I know I see you could predict the behavior, something is coming, boom, and you do something else. And the dog finds again a reference of this. I see this dog and it reminds me of doing stuff with you. That's the type of connection you want. So the dog sees the dog now as a reference. Oh, we're gonna do some fun stuff now. That's what you want. Instead of like,
Right.
yeah, oh, whoa, 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 we got a problem. You see, that's what happens when you're not prepared. Although you could have predicted your dog was going to pull, your dog was probably going to bark at other dogs, your dog is going to do all this stuff. You went on a family trip, you didn't have anything with you. Now you're here with this leash and this dog's like too heavy to pick up now because if it's 5 6 months, you're not just going to pick up a 5 6 month old big breed and just all right, let's slap him over the shoulder and we're going home. No, you're like, oh, damn, we got a problem. Yeah, and this problem now the dog's like, ah. You see, because he got away with the dog was walking off now. I mean, people are not going to do dog fights, you know? So the dog's like,
Right.
So that strengthens that behavior, you know? Well, next time,
Yep.
this is fun. The dog has nothing else to think about. He's not going on his field trips with you thinking like, yeah, we could do all this stuff, right? No, they're going on field trips. What's out here? Let me see which dog wants a piece of me, you know? That's the mindset these dogs are going out. And people also go, by the way, he's reactive. He can't go anywhere. Oh, come on. That was the best
Right.
part. You going out with your dog is the best part of having the dog. And now you're saying you're leaving the dog home. You guys are all going alone as dogs just have to wait. It's like, you see, the whole vision imploded. Nothing was left. You wanted the dog for protection work. You never got there. Why not? Because you didn't follow the strategy. Now you have other problems now. Protection work is like the least of your problems. Oh, but I'm having reactive problems, having pulling problems, having the resource guarding problems. No, protection work, like let's just forget about that. It was a bad idea to begin with because it's going to install more aggression, which is totally not true. But you know, that's what happens. The plan changes immediately. Everything implodes as soon as the problems start stacking up. There's no strategy. There's no skill. There's no program. There's no coaching. Like, yeah. What do we do? Yeah, what do we do? I don't know.
Yeah, and then they're usually reaching out for help 5 months after the dog's been practicing it for these 5 months. Now it's gonna be even more difficult than if they had been proactive or started working on it right from the very beginning. I wanna ask one last question. What's one thing you wish every dog owner or trainer in the world understood about the process of owning a dog?
That owning a dog is probably the easiest part because there's no regulations to own it unless you live in crazy countries probably where you can't buy dogs. But for us in the West, you can buy a dog. Anybody can own a dog. Dogs are appreciated, supported. Like it's a privilege to have a dog, you know. But the problem is that people go in underprepared because they don't know. They don't see it as, oh well, it's a skill. Well, no, they see it as just like I'm on basic stuff. Where does that come from? That idea of basic is because it has been taught to us that basic obedience is your dog is going to come, he's going to wait, and he's going to heal with you. That's basic. I understand why they say it because it's basic needs for us to have this type of control. It is absolutely not basic for the dog. So you're starting off with an idea of basic. And actually, if you're asking a recall, you're asking one of the hardest exercises of all time. Why? We're not talking about the kitchen recall, okay? Can we agree? We're not talking about, I got your food bowl, Bobby. Yeah, of course he's going to come hopping around. We're talking about he was about to get killed going chasing a squirrel to the highway. I recall him, and now he needs to come back. Can we agree that is a top level exercise? You're changing the dog's drive, changing his visuals because he's switching to you, then completing the movement to go into a finished position so you can actually then get a hold of him. We're talking high-end skills. So if you see that as basic, and then the worst part is you're not even hitting basic because you want basic, but we just didn't quite make it to basic, so we stayed mediocre. So now you got mediocrity. You got a dog in the city going loose, or you want to give them freedom. Remember freedom, the path of freedom, but you can't because simply there's no chance in the world your dog's ever going to come back or even heal with you. None of that. So your dream became disparity. And I think for anybody who owns a dog and who wants to have these things, who truly thinks to themselves, like, what do I actually want to do with this dog? I want to take him out in my family. I want to heal with him because obviously you need to move from A to B. So you have so many preparations to do, and we're all going in underprepared. So even me, like, we all been guilty of that. All been guilty. Yes, right. I did some research on breeds. I did research on police work. I did research on training, but I didn't actually train a skill. So I was in the same position. I got the dog, panic. What do I do? What do I do? These clubs not helping me. I need a different answer for this. You see? So I was also backtracking. So if there's one thing that I could tell people who are about to start, who have a young dog, or who want to start fresh out, whatever your reason is or however I can help you, is the plan. Having the master plan is creating the vision for you, creating solutions for you proactively. It's like, yeah, this is how modern policies also go for law enforcement. Is back in the day, you wait until trouble starts and then we all start fighting, you know? Now they know, oh, the rival team is going to come. So instead of having them fight and we break them up, why don't we build a corridor? Why don't we do this? So you see, you're like, you're setting yourself up for success so you don't have to make the same mistake. And I think if there's one thing in dog training we all do still is make the same mistakes. Because how am I getting the same question from somebody in Alaska and then literally 5 minutes later somebody in Australia is texting me the exact same thing and these people don't know each other? So that means you guys are showing patterns also, and this pattern is underprepared, no idea of skills, no strategy, no plan, nothing. So you and I, Nate, so that's our responsibility because we post, we try to educate people with free resources and so on. It's our job to help you guys. And that doesn't mean you need to like my style. Some people go like, this is too energetic. This is not. Totally fine. Go with something you like, but at least have a plan. Don't take it as, this is a basic, man. I'm just going to train this dog a little bit. I ask people every day, Nate, one of my first questions, what do you want from them? And then it's a border collie. It's like an intelligent breed, like for sure, not like a small pocket dog, but even they are intelligent for sure. And they literally say, he just needs to stay and come when I call him. That's it. I say, okay, now ask him again. You sure that's it? Now you can say anything. Think big. No, that's pretty much it. Okay, so you have an intelligent dog with so much potential, and all you want him to do is sit and come when you want. Okay. So you don't have to be a genius to understand there are going to be some problems here down the road. You have a German Shepherd. Okay, even if it's a show line, doesn't matter. It's still a very smart dog, and all you want it to do is sit and come with you. We need to help people understand that this is, first of all, not a great decision for the dog to only do this type of stuff, and even that you ask is also going to require skills. That is something I'm on a mission here. It's not just like, oh, all right, let me do this because I love it myself. I put my own dogs away so I can help other people, and I don't need to. I don't need to, because if you're online, you can literally not do that. I do it because I feel responsible for doing it, because I want to do it, because I want to help people. I want my students to be even better than me. I want them to thrive. I want them to excel. I want this. This is what gives me satisfaction. And, and people grow in stages. We're a little bit old, not super old, but in the beginning, it was only about what I could do with my dog. I didn't care about anybody else. Then I started caring about other people. I became an instructor. I wanted to help. Then I became an instructor, and I thought, I apparently I only want to help the people who won it the most or who was the best in this. You see, so I was like picking the people I like to train. Also not good. You see, so now I enjoy really people from the bottom. Like if there's like one story I can share, one story that I think is the biggest honor. Somebody, imagine this, somebody lives in Iran. Yeah. Iran is not dog friendly, man. That's not just a place you buy a dog and you're like, you're supported. No. First of all, also, they don't have money to afford anything. This person has a severe addiction with alcohol. All right. So he stays up. He wants this. He's inspired by whatever that is. Same as me. You wake up one day, you're inspired. He takes all his saving, does this thing, comes from a very bad position where, you know, it's not great if you have an addiction. And on top of that, your community doesn't support anything. You actually don't have anything to work with. And we brought him up to absolute insane level. He changed his life. He quit the alcohol. He got purpose. He got incredible training. He's respected now in this country. Also a lot of jealousy, of course, because that's also what happens if you get good. So this is what we were able to do through an online program, was able to reach somebody in Iran, change his entire life, his family's life, his anything, his status. Now people asking him, he got followers himself. He didn't have followers. Who's going to follow him? He's got followers himself. What an insane story that is. How you can help people remotely by just giving them hope and giving them a method that they can work with and grow, and you grow with them. He had a dog when he was a puppy. Now he's showing demos like you would say, hey, what are you doing in Iran? No, it's not me, it's the guy. Wow. Like I can literally, and he's so grateful about this. He writes me almost every day like, man, thanks to you. And like, man, it's also thanks to you. You wanted this. You chose to do this. You gave your savings to take this class, not even knowing what the outcome was going to be. I think people choosing that from that type of position, that type of situation, and then turning that into something incredible. I think in the West, we have a lot to learn also. We have all the options. We can go to anybody, anywhere. Look, if you spend some money in a course, it doesn't work for you. Forget about the money. For these people, they do something, it's do or die. It's like, no. This is like, it has to work. I'm going to quit the alcohol. Why? I told you the program wasn't just about dog training. It was about psychology. It's about discipline. It's about so many things that, or other traits that people can value. And yeah, and we have a few of those stories. We also have, Matt Folsom with nearly 2 million YouTube followers, like starting from scratch. I remember back then I did like Zooms one-on-one. I didn't have an online platform. You just literally book a call with me one-on-one. I would explain you. He would send me videos and I was like, what is that? What are you doing? Now he had a German Shepherd, like, all right, man, we got to change a lot of things. He said, yeah, I like it, but I like your dog so much. And I remember he asked me, can I buy a dog from you? And I literally said, Nate, there is no way you're buying a dog from me. I said, there's no way. No way you're going to buy a dog from me. And he's like, why not? I said, look, man, this skill, what you're showing right now, it's not going to be a match. There's nothing in my mind that tells me that I would ever consider you buying a dog of my litter or no, it's not going to happen. But anyways, you know what? He's like, I'm going to prove him that I'm worth it. And he did. And then he bought a dog and he was entitled to it because he did earn the skill. And he bought another one and he started, telling his story and boom, guy explodes. I remember he had 94 followers. Now he has 4.7 TikTok million, nearly 2 million on YouTube. That's also crazy, right? These people, like, they found inspiration. They find a career. Some people find a solution for the dog. Some people find a new life. Some people find relationships even on the community. It's like so many great stuff has happened since then. I cannot imagine doing anything else but this. Like, I could talk about this all day. I could do this all day. I never sleep, man. I don't know, but I never sleep. I sleep 5-6 hours. I wake up immediately. Boom. We got to help some people here. We got to inspire people because if I'm not helping, I'm trying to make a video that, hey, you see what's possible? We got videos now with puppies that insane, like attacking vacuums. 2 weeks later, you saw that video? 2 weeks later, that puppy's laser focused, not even moving. He's watching that vacuum, the robot come near his paws almost, just watching it. Yeah, all in tune. That's what we do. Transformations, 100%. And I'm sure if they wouldn't have met me, that dog still be eating vacuum cleaners. And that type of satisfaction is indescribable. For me, that's like being a coach is a privilege, is an honor. It's something I want to do. I'm going to pass this on. If I'm too old to coach, I'm already helping somebody coach other people. I said, look, if something happens to me, I want you to take over. I want you to help these people. I want you to coach them like we did. Put so many years in this program to develop. This needs more than just a quick fix. You know, like we're helping people. Just try this. We want transformations, and that's what gives me the most satisfaction. So everything, my biggest fear in life was not being able to do anything significantly, and my parents would think I'm some kind of loser, right? That was a big fear of me because I saw somebody who was successful and talented, and had all the accolades, and I didn't. And I always try to, but I'm like, I can try, but that doesn't mean I can make it. But you know what? At some point, you will find out if you master your own mind, you could do a whole lot more. I don't want to like
Yeah.
sound cheesy or something, but hey, the mind has its certain ways, you know. Like you said, nobody gave me a dime that I was going to be a canine handler, let alone I would do this. Zero chance. Zero.
Well, it's been really excellent, and I think something you said, which was very important, how you said you feel like it's a privilege for you to be able to teach, and you certainly found your purpose. I mean, watching you work with dogs, it's like this was his calling for sure. And I think that's something that also really resonated with me when you said it was when people are getting their dogs, they should also see that as a privilege. And if we see it as a privilege, it means we're going to have more gratitude. So this has really been excellent. And I appreciate you taking the time today. And every good session builds anticipation for the next one. So, where can our listeners go to find more of your wisdom until the next time?
Thank you so much, Nate, for having me on your show. I really enjoy your mind also into this. So appreciate that opportunity. And if you guys want to know more about me, it's STSK9. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, even on YouTube. And if you want to know the website, it's stsk9.com. It's going to lead you to my program, free resources. If you want to do a free class program, whatever, free book, ebook, we got everything for you. So, and you're always welcome to reach out and send me a DM because you'll be talking directly to me. No bots for me. I'm old school, man.
Mhm.
No bots. That does mean I might not respond within the 2 minute window. It can take a few hours, sometimes a day, but I will respond to you personally. That's me. If you're talking, it's me. So that I like that. That does create a lot of limits for me to talk to everybody, but at least you're talking to me. I don't want no bots. I don't like bots myself.
And I will put all the links that you just mentioned in the description. And for everybody else, stay calm, stay consistent, and stay curious. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.